Franny K. Stein, Mad Scientist, Book 9, Recipe for Disaster, Chapter 9, Just what they needed. You were right, Franny said to the Muffin Man. This is a perfect place to set up your bakery. Now you can work as late as you want, and we have space to work on our other projects. The Muffin Man slid a tray of muffins into his built-in oven. Just stay out of the way and be quiet, she told him. We don't need to let everybody know that you're down here. Igor reached for a muffin. No, Franny said. I told you before. These are for the bake sale. Keep your paws off them. Igor nodded. Yes, Franny. Good night, Franny called out to the Muffin Man as they headed up the stairs, but he didn't answer back. He was concentrating on making a great big batch of muffins for all the smiling, happy kids who would be waiting for them the next morning. Chapter 10. It's Baking Them Crazy. The next morning, the bake sale table was mobbed. Almost every kid in the school was there, and they were not happy. They were yelling and shouting and demanding their muffins. Mona and Vincent collected big handfuls of money as kids bought all the muffins they could hold. Franny was delighted. Wow, so many muffins, and look at all that money. They are really craving these things, Mona said as she took a bite from her own muffin. Franny looked around at the kids. I don't think I recognize everybody here. Are some of these kids from other schools? Maybe, Vincent shouted above the crowd. At recess, most of the kids sat on the ground or leaned against the wall eating crumbs off their shirts. They were too full to do anything. Only a couple of them even talked, and all they talked about was eating muffins. Over the next few days, Franny noticed that most of the kids were eating muffins instead of their lunches, and some were complaining that their clothes didn't fit them very well anymore. The muffin sales just kept growing, and more kids from other schools were showing up to buy them. Franny caught up with Mona and Vincent after another after-school muffin sellout. You should have plenty of money for the art and music department by now, Franny said. Probably, Mona replied. I'm just not that interested in the money anymore. Yeah, Vincent added. When I'm practicing the flute, I'm just thinking about how I could be using my mouth to eat muffins instead. How could muffins be that important to anybody? Franny thought to herself. On the way out to the building, Franny stopped by the art room. There were piles of unused supplies, and the music room had unopened boxes and boxes of brand new instruments. This is weird, Franny said, but I guess if they're not interested in that stuff anymore, that's up to them. And I have projects of my own waiting for me back at the lab. After dinner and homework, Franny went to her lab and got back to work on her new inventions. Igor, she shouted, please come here and hold these wires while I tighten this screw. But Igor didn't come. Igor, she shouted again. Igor didn't answer. He wasn't painting. He wasn't practicing his gymnastics. He wasn't even playing hide-and-go-bite with the monsters. Igor had disappeared for a few days before, so Franny didn't worry much. Once he joined the circus for a few days. Another time he tried alligator wrestling. He'd even tried to be a fashion model. I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, Franny said to herself. Sometimes he just gets curious and wants to try something. He'll be back. Chapter 11. Maybe the baked goods are baked bads. The next day at school, there was nobody at the bake sale table. There weren't even any kids in the hallways or classrooms either. Did I accidentally show up here on a Saturday again? Franny asked herself. No, this is something stranger than that. I wish Igor was here to help me. She pulled her bird-sniffing robot out of her backpack. I'll bet I can modify this to sniff out other things, she said, and with a few little adjustments, a couple rubber bands, and a handful of paper clips, she finished it. Find Igor, she told it. Should be easy. He kind of smells like a burp. And it started sniffing its way down the hall. The robot stopped in front of the door to the school basement and beeped. Down there? She asked it, and it beeped again. I wonder what's going down there, she said, and slowly walked down the stairs. As she headed downward, she heard the sounds of people working, and she started to smell the muffins baking. Maybe the Muffin Man has seen Igor, she said, as she came around the corner and saw exactly what was going on. Long tables lined the basement with kids mixing ingredients and pouring them into muffin pans. Igor was loading the pans into one of the brand new ovens along the wall. If this wasn't odd enough, everybody also seemed almost half asleep. Oh, hi, Franny, the Muffin Man said cheerfully. Isn't this great? Do you want to help? What are you doing? She demanded. We're making muffins, he said, and not just for the kids at this school. We're making them for everybody, everywhere. Soon the whole world will get to enjoy my wonderful muffins. Franny shook Mona's shoulder. Mona, why are you doing this? Mona looked at her and smiled weakly. He pays us in muffins, Franny. If we help, we can have all the muffins we want. These were just supposed to be for the bake sale, Franny said, to raise money for art supplies and musical instruments. Mona shrugged. The muffins are the only thing we care about now, Franny. Well, I'm shutting this thing down, Franny said, right this minute. No more muffins. The kids stopped what they were doing and looked at her angrily. Even Igor growled at her. You don't understand, Franny, the Muffin Man said. I used to just be the furnace here at the school. I know that. I built you. Franny snapped. I did my best to heat the school and make the kids happy, but it was always too hot for some and too cold for others. No matter what I did, I couldn't satisfy them all. The kids went back to working on the muffins as he spoke. But then you made me into a baker, and I came up with my wonderful recipe, and everybody loves it. They're all happy now. Franny knew she couldn't just turn him off. He was too big and heavy to attack. Plus, he was burning hot. Even if she somehow managed to tip him over, his fire could burn down the school. There were too many kids in the basement for her to start a fight with the Muffin Man. It was too dangerous. Franny had to think fast. Yes, Franny said, pretending to be encouraging. You've done a great job here. I'm not surprised that people like the muffins so much. It's a spectacular recipe. The Muffin Man smiled at her. Of course, the muffins would be even better if these kids had real skills like yours. I mean, you were designed to be the greatest baker. These guys are just trying to do their best. But I'm training them, the Muffin Man said. Yeah, and I'm sure they're okay, and they'll get better eventually. Years from now, Franny said. But you taught me everything in a single night, the Muffin Man said. Well, yes, Franny smiled. I'm a scientist. I use special scientific equipment, but don't worry about it. Your way is fine. The Muffin Man thought for a moment. Will you help me train them to be expert bakers? You could go get your equipment. I can pay you in muffins. You can have all you want. I don't think so, Franny said. Just try one, the Muffin Man said, and he grabbed her and pushed one toward her face. Franny struggled. She knew that she did not want to eat one of those. I'm full, Franny said. I've been eating them all morning. But just to be nice, I'll go to my lab, grab a few things, and be right back, Franny said, pulling away from the Muffin Man's grasp. Come on, Igor, you can help me. Igor looked at her and shook his head. Franny was shocked. Igor was refusing to help her. He had been eating the muffins too. He was under their spell. Oh, I guess you're busy, she said. That's okay, Igor. I can do it by myself. And Franny ran up the stairs and all the way home. Even Igor is hooked on these muffins, Franny cried. She had been able to count on him since the day she got him. In some ways, she had never felt more alone.